Hello everyone, I'm Melanie with Painting Crafty, and tonight it's Tuesday night draw along, and we're going to be doing this step-by-step little sweet Easter bunny who's inside of a little egg. Super sweet image, and I hope you will take a little time and draw along with me. I'm going to teach you step-by-step of how to draw it, and then I'm going to show you a simple little watercolor look at the end. So I'm going to be doing it in watercolor, so the paper I'm going to be using tonight is the Canson brand watercolor paper, 140 pound. It's still considered a student grade watercolor paper, which means that it's reasonably priced, but you're going to get a nice result with this. So I'm kind of a firm believer, just spend just a tiny bit more money on your watercolor paper and just buy the paints that you can afford. So I'm going to be using watercolor, but you most certainly can use whatever you might like. And for those who do not care for drawing, but you'd like to paint, I do have a Ko-fi page that you can pop over there and take a look. That I have a small subscription there, and you can get all of the current tracers for my drawings. You'll find them there. So you might want to pop over there and give me a look. Also, it's just a great way for you to support my page if you would like to. Well, let's go ahead and make this big and small. I'm going to be on the left-hand corner tonight. When you're coming on in, go ahead and say hello. It's always nice to see who's here. Hi, Deb. Hi, Gloria. Thanks for popping on, ladies. If you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, you know how the YouTubes likes that. So let's go ahead and start drawing. I'm going to be using a circle tonight. I'm working on a 6x6 piece of paper, but it doesn't matter. Whatever you might have will work just fine. And I'm going to start with a couple different circles. So I'm going to start with a 3.5, and then let's see. I'm not for sure exactly what size these are. I have kitties, so I have lots of litter boxes at my house, litter containers. So I'm just going to be using those types of lids is what I'm going to be using. Now you don't have to use the circles or the templates, but I do find it easy for drawing the egg, and that's what I'm going to start out with first. Hello, Kelly Rose. Thanks for coming on this evening. So I'm going to start down low, and I'm just going to go lightly around my circle. Now this could be a coffee cup, whatever you might have. So I'm going to just go real light around this shape. This is going to be the bottom part of my egg. Now I need to have some room to be able to put the flowers at the bottom, those little pretty roses, to be able to do that. So I think I can do that because I can still come up inside of my egg, and that will work. Now I'm going to take my other one, and I'm going to build that snowman look. So I'm going to come up here. And here's the top of my circle, so I'm maybe about 3/4 through. I do need some room to be able to put the top of my egg, so I'm going to sit that right there. And then I'm going to draw lightly around this one as well. And I have it centered. So this is how we're going to build our egg. And I did get a little wonky up there. It almost looks like an egg at the top. Isn't that funny how it got a little wonky and it already looks like an egg? So this is going to help me build my egg shape. So I'm going to come off to the side here, and I'm just going to sketch motion lightly because this is going to get erased on the inside here. Meet up with my circle on each side. So take a look of where you met here. Go right on across and put a little line here. And then let's follow back around this way. So if you have a couple coffee cups, or like say maybe a water glass in a coffee cup, something that might be a different size, that would work perfectly. Now we need to create that little egg shape at the top. So that's going to be a little bit more pointed, like that football end of the football. So I'm going to come here. This is where I'm going to need to make that. So I'm going to look right kind of where the center of my egg would be, come up just a little higher, and then I'm going to make that football shape right at the top. That football point, and that's going to be the egg top. Now it's not going to be an exact point. We're going to want to round it off because we don't have any pointed chicken eggs. Okay, so there's the egg. I'm going to use my polymer eraser here, and I'm going to go right on in and erase the circle parts that I don't need anymore. And then open this up, and I should have a nice size big Easter egg in there. That should work. Now after you got it drawn, after you've got your things erased, take a look at it and see if it makes sense. And if you need to tweak your lines a little bit more, you can tweak them. We just need a simple shape that looks like an egg. Okay, so let's come here. I'm going to arch it out just a tiny bit, add my lines. Now I can kind of see a little bit better. Don't want a point on my egg at the very top. Okay, let's round that off a little bit. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Let's erase this line right here. I think I'm good. I think I'm good with that. Maybe I better take a look in my camera to make sure I really am, because often I can see things in my camera that I can't see right in front of me. But looking up on my camera, I think it's good. I think it's good. All right, let's go ahead and place our bunny. So let's take a look at the shape of our bunny. It's broken down pretty easily. Now we're going to call this the back of our bunny. So this is the back right here. Let's take a look at my black and white. Now I do have that Ko-fi membership, so I'm just going to use their tracer to show you how the shapes are broken down. So this would be the back, and this would be kind of the front. Now to make it look like your bunny is facing away and it's got its head kind of placed off to the shoulder, is to put your tail close to this side, like off to the right-hand side, not smack dab in the bunny, because that would be the wrong different perspective, I guess. It wouldn't be wrong, but it would look different in the end if you do it that way. But to get my bunny to look like he's facing sideways, I put my tail off to the side. So I'm going to just start with this shape here. If you look at that shape, it kind of looks like a V, maybe an upside down V that isn't so pointed. So I'm going to take a look here on my rabbit, where I might put my rabbit, and I'm going to start here. What might be another shape? Oh, is Carrie watching? A lot of times she has good names for shapes. So I'm going to do my little V, upside down V shape. Now I got to make his shoulder a little bit more rounded. I'm going to draw heavier so you can see it, but when you're drawing yours, you'll probably want to use a little bit lighter pressure so you don't have such dark pencil marks. So there is that part of my rabbit. Now let's take a look at his head. His head is an egg shape. It's another egg shape. If you think about it that way, it's another egg shape that's sitting right here on the top. And we're going to pop that right on the top. We're going to lay it over a little bit over on that shoulder. We're going to just do real informal. All you have to have is that nose, and then the head is getting wider as it's going back, and then it's just curving around. Okay, there you go. So when you're doing this shape, you just want to make sure, and there goes my eraser again. I need to get myself some new pencils with better erasers. You just want to make sure that your head looks like it's about the right size for your bunny. If it's too small, it's going to look like a little jelly bean that's sitting on the top of there. So you want to just take a look. Does it look big enough? Does it look like it matches kind of the body? Now I'm going to erase what might ever be inside of my head. Now let's put some ears on, and that might help you decide, does your head look big enough? So this ear is heading this direction. It's just a loop with a nice little kind of a rounded point there. And that's going that one. And then this one's behind, so we're just going to pop in our next ear going the opposite direction. Now I'm going to come here and do my loop up and then come back down. Then I'm going to start here like in the middle of my ear kind of, and I'm going to do my loop the other direction. Okay, so by doing it that way, it looks like one ear is behind and one ear is in front. Now let's put his nose on. The nose is going to make it look like he's looking sideways still. You're only going to have a half of a nose. So we're going to come in, we're going to just do a little piece down and then around. Can everybody see okay tonight? I'm hoping you can see okay. I may be able to pull it in. Let's try. Let's try. Oh, I don't know if I can zoom in or not. Well, maybe I better not play with it too much. Hopefully you can see okay. So we're going to do a half a nose. So that would be kind of an upside down triangle shape right there. Okay. Now, and then when we do his whiskers, we're going to have, his whiskers are going to be over here. We're going to have full length whiskers on this side, but because he's looking sideways, you're only going to have a partial whisker over on that side. So the whiskers will be shorter on the far side, but longer ones in the front. And that will help it look more proportioned. You can see fine. Good. I'm glad. Let's see. Curious to know, are you watching TV, mobile, iPad? What is everyone watching on tonight? I do get reports from YouTube that says what you're all are watching on. So it is kind of interesting to know, are people watching on mobile? Are they watching on TV? I watch a lot of YouTube on TV, is how I like to watch my YouTube. Now let's take a look here. Oh, okay, Deb, you can laugh at me. There goes my lead. as well. You're watching on the phone. Okay, so make sure you are holding it landscape. That will give you a bigger picture. Laptop, says Deb. Interesting, interesting. So I don't want to get him too narrow. I'm going to make my back a little wider. So I'm thinking I'm going to put it out just a little bit. Okay, now his eye is just going to be one eye. I'm going to put it about right here. And it's going to just have a hoop, like a sad face and smile face. There's not a lot of detail on his eye. Now I'm going to put that tail back here towards my back. So then it lines up on my body the right way. So there it looks, it's going to help it look like he's looking the right direction. All right, so we got his tail on. Let's go ahead and look at our flowers. Now the flowers are very simple. You just want to think about making kind of groupings. So the first one off to the side, or the one I started with, was my big one. And I'm just going to start with a round circle here. And then I added 3 other ones here. So I'm going to pop in my circles there. And then I'm going to add just one up above, and I filled in a little bit with some more leaves. So I'm going to start with my biggest one. And I want to make sure I have it somewhat over my bunny. So I want to cover up some of my bunny. I'm going to go past my egg because we're creating a look of it's going past the egg. I'm going to erase whatever might be a part of my egg. I'm going to erase that in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and create those next little circles that are going to be the ones that are underneath it. So these ones are going to be smaller. And then I'm going to put one here. We're going to change them up a little bit by changing where the centers are. And then I'm going to have one here too. So there's my 3. They can overlap, and it would probably look good to have them overlapping. They could be slightly different sizes. One could even be smaller. Now I'm going to come up here and do my next one. So I'm going to make my next one another round circle up here. Now erase the centers, whatever might be in there that would be the egg. Erase that part so that's no longer in there. And now to do where you're going to change the flower direction is by simply changing the different areas of where the center is. So can you see how this rose has the center at the top? This one, the center is kind of in the center. When you look at it there, it's right in the center. And then this one is a little bit off to this side too. This one's kind of up a little bit higher, not smack dab in the middle. And then this one is up a little bit higher. So change the direction of where your centers are, and that's going to make your flowers look like they're facing different directions. These are just very simple flowers. There's not a lot of, I'm going to just sketch this real lightly, and I'm going to put my flower over here. So they're just very simple, loose flowers and not a lot of detail. This one here, I'm just putting where I want to put my centers in for sure. So when I'm doing my watercolor, I know to leave some dark areas and some white areas so I don't cover them all in. Let's see, maybe I'll make this one come this direction over here. So it's looking like it's going that way. This one, I'm going to come up just a little bit higher, make my rose, jiggly, jiggly edges. Again, like I said, these are just very loose, whimsical roses, but they're very pretty when we float in our colors. Now let's do one here up a little higher. All right, we have our flowers in that way. Now let's go ahead and lay in a few little extra ones. I do have some buds at the top. This is just a small one here. Here's a little rose bud here. And again, just pay attention to where you're putting your centers, and that will help will make them look like they're going different directions. What will look good is if you can bring some in, so they're different directions. So I'm bringing my egg in as I'm coming up. So let's pop in a few of those. So I'm just going to come here where I want my rosebud, and I'm going to come out, just putting a little simple stem so I know where I'm going. And I'm going to come up a little higher with this one and bring it over. So this one's a little lower, that one's a little higher. It's going to give your drawing a little interest. So let's pop a little rosebud in here. So I'm just going to make a smaller one, going around. And there's a little rosebud. Now, maybe I want to make this one a little bit shorter. Let's make it a little bit shorter. Okay, I definitely need to go get some more pencils. I've been struggling with those on the live for the last how many times? It's time to get some new pencils. Okay, so I kind of got that where it's going. One's a little higher, one's a little lower. Let's go ahead and fill in some of these little purple ones. Now, you don't even have to draw the little purples in at all. You could just draw where the line is going to go, and then you can just put the little tiny lavender type flowers in with your paintbrush, and you don't even have to draw them. So I'm going to just lay in a line so I know where I'm going to have it. I want to fill in some of my space, so I'm going to come here for sure, and maybe you just want to put like the top in so you remember that's where that flower is. We're going to put some leaves in here. Those are my little simple football leaves. So I call them football leaves because they have a point here and a point back here. So you're going to go sad face, smile face. That's all there really is to it. You don't even have to have any fancy little flips or anything. They can even just be loops, however you want to do your flowers or your leaves. And these ones are just got a little bend to them, little tiny football leaves. And these ones are popping up. I switched the colors. And I did make these a little bit more loopy just to get a little different look in what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop some leaves in here. So here's my football. So I'm going to go sad face, happy face, back down. There we go. That's all there is to it. And then I'm going to come on this side and do another one. Sad face, happy face. Pretty easy. You can draw a center line in there if you want to. I'm just going to remember I'm going to be filling these in with some purple. I'm going to pop in one of those little loopy ones like I did up high. I'm going to do something like that here just to change up my leaf. So when I do my loopy ones, I just go a loop, a loop, a loop, a loop, and a loop. You can fill them in however they might work. And I can add more as after I put my painting in. This is just the basic sketch of how I'm doing things. Okay, I want to do one more thing with your bunny. So don't put it in permanent yet. Just leave it. Just wait for me to catch up with you here. I want to do one more thing with that bunny after I was looking at it a little bit. So let's add a few more leaves in. So we're going to soften these areas down here by just adding a few little leaves if you've got some room. I don't have room down low, but I'm going to pop some here. And maybe these will just be my little loopy leaves that are going to come in there. Now I'm going to come on this side and add some leaves. So now everything is kind of going this way. So you want to change up your directions a little bit so that you can have a little bit of interest. We don't want all the things going one direction. So here let's put in a leaf here. Let's make it come out like that. And then maybe there's a little sister leaf that comes down here. So these ones are tucked behind. They don't have the point on the end. These ones had 2 points. To make them look like they're tucked behind, I'm only going to have the point at the top, but it's going to be meeting up with my flower. And by doing that, you're going to create that it's looking behind your flowers. Now, I might put some washes of greens in here where I just put washing the color of green instead of actually doing a leaf. That will add color as well. Let's go ahead and pop another partial one in here. So I'm going to pop it in there. Now I do want to put a few of the purple flowers in. I don't have a super distinct line, but you can pop in a little bit of, like if you wanted one, you could do a stem, put in a loop so you know that, oh, those are going to be purple. So remember to do your purple there. I'm going to pop in another leaf here, sad face, happy face, like that. I'm going to come up and do another one on that side. I'm going to put a few more loopy ones. I'm going to bring that in. So I'm going to come around my egg and then do my loops. So that will fill in that space. Remember, you can go past your egg. Not everything has to be exactly in there. And I'm going to do another loopy one here. So I'm going to follow my egg shape for a little while. Do a loop, a loop, a loop, a loop, a loop. Something like that. Now, okay, so now I want to finish that little bunny thing that I was doing. I want to fix his neck just a little bit. So I want to fix his neck by bringing that little bit of a curved line here. So right now my bunny just looks like it's sitting right on top of the shoulders and it doesn't look like things are connected. So I'm going to soften this line here and this line here. So I'm going to come in, this will be my head, but I'm going to soften it. So I'm going to add a little bit of curve right here and then bring it down. Do you see what a difference that made just by adding that little bit of a curve? I softened that connection so it doesn't look like he was just popped, like his head is separate. Now let's work on this line here. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to curve it around, touch my flowers now because I know where they are. So you can see how that made a little bit softer look. it doesn't look like it's just sitting on top of there, like it's a little ping pong ball that's on top of there. Let me do my eye again. So that really helps give more of a soft look to him and makes his head more connected to his body. Now I'm also going to be adding an inside of his ear. So I need to erase this part of his head, and I want to add that inside. So I'm going to follow my ear for a little ways and then come down and around. Okay, so now we have his ear more attached to his head. Well, it's coming all together. Now it's time to do a little bit of watercolor. So I'm going to go ahead and take my kneaded eraser. I did not do a lot of pen work on this one. I did mostly just watercolor. So this is when I'm going to use my kneaded eraser. So I'm going to come in and erase my items, my line work. The kneaded eraser is great for softening your pencil marks. It won't rough up your paper. If you really have to get in there, like this one when I do, I'm smoothing out my paper slightly when I'm erasing. The more you do that, the more you're going to smooth out your paper. This one won't do that. It just kind of glides over the top, and it just softens your pencils. So you might have really light lines already because you probably were drawing lighter than me. But in order for you to see it, I do have to draw darker. So my lines are often way dark than what they need to be. Hi, Judy. Thanks for popping on tonight. Thanks for coming to the YouTube. Thanks for joining in. I know I'm changing up things for where I'm going live and stuff. And so now all of my draw-alongs on Tuesdays and Thursdays are always going to be on YouTube. The replays will be there. It's easier to find. It's not as busy as Facebook. They're easy to find the videos. I know it might be a little hard to comment sometimes if you would want to comment, but you can always give it a thumbs up. And afterwards, if you want to make a comment, if you would like to, you can always go in and make a comment underneath the video. All a little bit of that helps. So tonight I'm going to be using the Paul Rubens color. It's still kind of a, it's not a super expensive kind of watercolor paint. It's a little better than my little tiny set that I use, but I'm still going to be using that. Now, most everybody who's watching tonight, you've been doing watercolor, so you're real familiar, but I always have people who are new who are watching, so I always want to say, when you get your watercolor, no matter what you're using, even if it's markers, take a piece of your paper that you would be drawing on and use that as a key for making a color key, so you know what your watercolors are actually going to look like on paper versus just in here, because inside of the boxes they are so dark and it's so hard to tell what the color is. Oh, and here that color popped out again. Again, if you're using these types of ones, you want to make sure you take a Sharpie marker and write on the bottom what that color is, so if it does pop out, you will have that key with your color chart and you're going to know where it goes. So always keep those papers. So I'm going to be using a little bit of mixing tonight. I'm just going to be using, I had a new setup with my tripod too, so I'm struggling a little bit of where I'm putting everything, where everything's going to go, and then my picture's on the left-hand side tonight. So lots of changes. Okay, I'm going to start, let's see, I'm going to start with my 6 brush, I guess. I'm still using my watercolor brushes, my favorite ones, my Velvet Touch Princeton brushes. I usually use a 6 or a 10. That gets me a long ways for what I want to do. You're gonna have to watch the replay for the drawing. Yes, you'll have to. They're always gonna be finding them on the YouTube channel. I'm gonna just take some clean water and I'm going to put my water on here. Now I don't want to cover it all with water. I'm looking at my pencil marks and I'm kind of focusing my water in between my pencil marks. And the reason why is because remember, watercolor flows wherever the water is, and I don't want a complete solid color of watercolor, so I want to make sure I have some open spots. And then, let's see, I'm going to take some brighter color. I was doing sweet peas. I was working on sweet peas. That's what's going to be Thursday's draw along, are sweet peas, because sweet peas are April's birthday flower. And I thought, man, we should probably get to making those in case someone has an April birthday they want to send a card to or draw a special picture for. We need to start doing that. So I was working on sweet peas last night. So I have my colors for my sweet peas. Good evening, all. Does anyone use gouache? you know, I have a set of gouache and I've used it just a tiny bit, not a lot. It's fun. I did some specialty painting with it, but it is a fun medium to try to use. Do you use, Anne? Do you use it? Is that what you, are you new to gouache? Do you want to learn more about gouache? Let's see, I'm going to make a little bit of peach color too. So I don't have a good peach in this set, so I'm just going to take a little orange. I'm going to take some of my reddish color, mix my orange and my reddish color together and kind of come up with my own little peach color. It's going to still be kind of dark, but I'll add a lot of water to it. Add a lot of water to it. Okay, so there we got it. All my colors are mixed to tea consistency. Now my paper is probably kind of dry after doing all that mixing. It's probably already too dry. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take a little bit of my coralish color, and this was the area that was wet. I'm going to lay my first color down. That's a lot more orange than what I really want it to be. I'm going to add some more water. Okay, maybe a little bit more red. I could just do really simple and just pick up my other set. It has the perfect coral in it. I'm never happy. I'm always mixing my colors, and I have some colors I like in some sets and not in the other ones. Let's see, a little bit more. Okay, we'll see what we get now. Okay, let's add very much watered down though. I don't want it very strong. Okay, there we go. I'm going to leave some whites, so I don't want to cover everything up. But while my color is still wet, I'm going to come in and pop in a little bit of my other color that I want in there. So this is going to blend while it's sitting there wet. Now if you get too much color, like I probably got way too much, you'd like to learn more about it? Yes. Okay, so we're going to come here. I washed my brush out, and I have just clean water in it, and then I squeezed it so I could get a thirsty brush because I got a little bit too much color in there. I jumped the gun on how much color I really wanted in there. Let's see. So you can pick things up. All is not lost. If you feel like you get too dark too quick, you can remove and lift. But I do want to leave some white spots in there. I don't want to cover it all the way up. Okay, so that looks a little better. All right, let's go ahead and do my next color. I'm going to take this kind of a purplish one, water it down well. And let's see, I'm going to pop over here a little bit and add it. Now, I might have to get my other set out. Okay, we'll just do that. I'll stop struggling with it. We'll just get my other set out. There is some prettier pinks in this one. So I'm going to just use this one because it has some prettier pinks in it, and I'm not going to struggle as much. And I love this peachy color here. It's nice and soft. That's why it's got the big hole in it. Oops, sorry. I love this peach color here, and I do love that pink color in there. And that's why it does have the hole in it. Now, this one's wet. This one's kind of wet, so I probably should skip up here and do another area where it's dry. If I go into those other ones, my colors are all going to blend together, which might look just fine. If the colors work well together, it's probably just fine. Let's put a little bit of that pinkish color in there. All right, let's water it down a little bit. So kind of push and pull. Now these drawings are small enough. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Do another one. If you belong to the subscription group for the drawing one, what I often do is I will take my tracers and I can take my tracers, and if using, depending on what kind of paper you're using, if you're using mixed media paper, you can just throw them into your printer and print them out multiple times if you wanted to. If you are, I use a light box as well for my drawings, and so I can pop them into my light box and just do a tracing. I can do a tracing over watercolor, onto watercolor paper, from watercolor paper. So you can do that as well. That works out great. If you don't want to draw them every time, you could do a little bit of tracing and speed up the process as well. So I'm just going to lightly lay in a little bit darker color. Then I need to let that wait. Now, another way you can pick up color too is you can go ahead and take your paper towel and you can lift your color. If you think you got it too dark, you can try lifting a little bit, but your white spots are going to be gone. But if you are using gouache, like Anne had asked about, you could lay in some gouache over the top as an additional light. It's kind of a hybrid between acrylic paint and watercolor. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out what we want to do for a green. I'm going to choose this color green first. The hooker green is what I'm going to put on first. That's going to be kind of more of a yellow green. Choose a couple different ones for your leaves, and then that would fill in a little bit. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of this green. So I'm going to tap, come in, and I'm just following, but again, I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white so I'm not all the way filled in. And I'm going to come here and add some here. Now my flowers are pretty wet, but I'm okay if some of that purple bleeds into my green. It looks kind of nice actually. Okay, and then we're going to go here, and I can show it to you just a little bit of an idea of what that looks like. So here my purple kind of blended it right into my green, but it has kind of a nice look. I don't mind that look. So there is some good things if your colors bleed together. It's not all bad if your colors do. I'm going to put that up here as well. And then let's play a little bit with the purples, the bigger like lavendery type of purples. Okay, so those are some of the big leaves, and I'll be layering in some more of the, there's a purple color that I want. I'll be layering in some more leaves and more colors as I'm building this. So I'm going to kind of start with my biggest structure and then layer it in. Whoops, I got color going everywhere. Okay. Let's layer in a little bit of this look here. So this was my lavender. I'm just going to start at the top, and then I'm going to just make those little V shapes as I'm coming down. Now those ones are going to be the strong ones, but I'm going to do some more washier looking ones in the background. So I'm going to come here. This is one of my more strong ones. Fill those in like that. Let those dry a little bit. You know what? Let's work a little bit on those little rosebuds. So I'm going to come in and add just a little bit here. My flowers here are a little bit more purple and a little bit more stronger pink than my original ones were a little bit softer color. I've got green and all kinds of color going on here. Okay, these that'll be kind of my first layer, but I did try to leave a little white. So I'm going to come in now and add another, like kind of a medium tone, because I want to have some contrast. It needs to have look like it's not all of the same. So I'm going to come in here. Now this one was more pink, so let's maybe try a little bit more of that pink from that other box. Let's lay a little bit more of that color in. Now, if your color starts looking like acrylic paint, it means you don't have enough water. So you need to add a little bit more water in your brush and spread your colors around a little bit more. Okay, I like the way that one turned out. That looks good. Let's try a little bit more of this brighter color here and see what I can get going on this one. I'm going to add that next layer. Watercolors are always going to dry a tish bit lighter than what it looks like when it's wet. So you're going to need to add a few more layers than just the one or even two. I often use like a light, a medium, and a dark when I'm building my watercolors. Well, he's still looking cute, even though he does look a little different. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a little bit to my rosebuds. Let's find a little bit more red color. Let's add just a tiny bit of that color. They're still a little wet, but that's good because my colors will mix together and do that watercolor bit of magic. Okay, all right, let's pick up a different green now. So I had that darker green, or that plant green. Let's do kind of more of a yellowish green, a brighter green, and see what we get. So these are going to be those little, oh, I'm going to have to change that. I think it's too close to what I originally had. Let's try a little different. And I'm just going to pop some of these in, just here and there. Okay, and we'll pop this in as well. Okay. Now those are gonna need a little bit of time to dry before I go too much in. Let's choose a little color for our rabbit. So you'll need to choose a rabbit color. I'm gonna choose just kind of a combination of warmish browns is what I'm going to choose. And I'm gonna have a couple little different layers on there. Remember to leave in a little white spots as well, maybe something on his ear, highlight there, and just add a little bit of wash. So definitely gonna start light and then work my way dark. Something on there. There we go. And lay in my first color. So I'm going to leave a white spot on him. I can always add more color. I just can't take it out. I'm going to go around his tail. I'm going to do kind of a brighter peachy color on him. Let's see, we're going to add some around there. I'm going to leave a little white around his eye and then bring it up. And add the brown to the outside of his ear, but to that inside, I'm not going to add anything in there because I'm going to layer in a little peach and a little pink, and I don't want it to get too dark. So I'm just going to let that dry a little bit. Okay, so that's just the first layer, and we'll be adding some more layers on as we go. Okay, so let's let him dry. I'm going to come back into that purple again, and I'm just going to put in some blotches of color. So there might not even be a flower here, but I'm gonna see how that one's more loose looking than what the more structured is, but it's still gonna read that it's got some of that color behind there. I'm gonna do the same thing here. These are just very light washes of color. And then I'm gonna come in here and add a few more here too. So just little splots. They don't have as much definition as those first ones I did. Whoops, that's really dark. Pick that up a little bit. Okay, and let's add a little bit more water. So you get to play around a little bit with this. It's a little bit more washy. Okay, those look good. Let's add another layer to green a little bit onto those first original leaves that we did. So I'm going to use the same color. I'm just adding a little bit more tint on my paper, but not a lot. And then I'm going to choose to layer in one more color of color. But I don't want to cover up everything I put on originally. So I still want to see a difference in my color. But I'm just going to pop in a little bit more color. These ones got really light here, so I definitely want to add some more color there. Okay, now let's pick up either one of the colors, both of them, some of the green. I'm going to go ahead and tap this on my brush, and I'm just going to wash in a little bit of green here and there. So that's just going to be an indication that there's leaves back there, but I'm not going to see like real leaves. So I'm just popping in my color here and there and filling in a little bit of color without having to draw leaves. So it's filling it in without having to do a lot of work. All right, let's pick up another shade of brown. And I'm watering it down. This is going to be about tea consistency as well, so I don't want it too much pigment on there. I don't want to go too dark on my bunny right away. So now I'm just going to add that next layer. So I'm going to come in and I kind of decide where my shadows are. So I'm going to put one here for sure because that's where my ears cross over. Going to dab in a little bit more around my bunny. And I'm doing kind of quick, fast strokes. So they're not like painting solid. Okay, there was my highlight. I might add a little bit more around it. And I'm changing the direction of my brush as I'm doing this and adding my color. So this is going to be darker down here because it's going into shadow. There might be a little bit more shadow to go around the back there because his body would be going that direction. I'm going to pick up just the tiniest bit and maybe just put it on the closest part to his ear, but leave the outside of the ear a little bit lighter. Okay, let's let that dry and see how we're coming. Now, if your lines end up getting too harsh, take your brush, rinse it out with water, clean water, give your brush a squeeze, and then kind of push and pull your colors around a little bit. All right, I'm going to go back to my other set here, and I've got that little peach color. I'm going to use that on his tail. I'm going to put that a little bit of it on his tail. I'm also going to put that peach color in the middle of his ear, like so. And a tap of it on his nose, just like that. I'm going to add a little bit of pink to those areas too. He looks kind of funny right now because his eye's not done. So he looks a little funny right now, but it'll all come together once I get his eyes done. He looks a little funny. I'm going to pick up just a really light shade of pink, and I'm going to tap just a tiny bit of that pink in there, a little bit on his nose too. Now you can decide, does your bunny need another shade of dark? If it does, you could choose the same color. Just use a little less water this time. I'm going to maybe choose a little bit more rustier color. We'll see what that looks like. Still going to try to do thin. And then I'm going to add a little bit more shadow even right there. This side, down there, around his tail, because I want his tail to be lighter. A little bit more on the back of his head, underneath, up into his eye, and then I'm going to add a little bit more shadow on this part of the ear. Okay, he's coming together. He's coming to life. Okay, I think I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that peach color, and I'm going to pop in just another layer of that peach. Okay, he's looking pretty cute. Now let's work a little bit on that eye. So he's looking darling. I think he's looking cute. You can see how just by filling in casually with those colors, how that makes a difference. Now I did also choose to do a dragonfly. I forgot to put him in there too. So dragonflies are pretty easy. They're just going to have a round circle for a head. So a little round circle. And then maybe very simple, and this could stay in with your pencil work. You wouldn't have to necessarily erase it, so you could see it drawn that way. Then there's going to be a wing up and a wing down, a wing up and a wing down. And that's the simple little dragonfly. And you can use the same color as you used for your bunny. You could use the same brown for that to the inside to do it that way. So I could just stop in here, pop in a little bit. I might have made his head a little too big. Let's pop that in there a little bit. Okay, it will read like a dragonfly. It will read like a dragonfly. All right, and then I made his wings actually a bright color of green, which I thought looked kind of cute with the pink background. So I'm just going to come in, do a little bit of the bright wing. Now because my dragonfly is wet, a little bit of that brown might float in, but that's okay. Now this is where you can decide about how you want to do your eye. You can either do your eye with a micron pen. Just go right on in there and draw your eye, the dark part. Animals' eyes there isn't a lot of, they're mostly all colored. They're not like our eye where we have the colored part in the middle and then we have that white around it, the color. That's not how animal eyes are. Animal eyes are mostly colorful. So his eye is mostly brown, and I just left a little bit of white on the inside when I did it. Now if you don't, if you paint it, I was looking for my little brush, but I don't see it right offhand. If you paint it, and then when you paint it, if you end up putting too much color and you don't have any white left, you could use a uniball pen. I don't have one sitting here. A uniball pen that has that nice white ink in it. You can use that to add your white back into your eye. Or if you wanted to, you could use a little bit of like flat acrylic paint, just a tish bit there. Or you could use gouache. If you have gouache, you could add it that way too. I'm just going to use my small brush here, the smallest one I've got. I was looking for my brush box, but I don't see it. It's probably sitting right in front of me and I don't see it. I'm going to go directly into my color. And I'm not going to mix a lot of water with it because I want to have a lot of control over it. And I'm even going to tap it on my paper towel, so I still got a nice little point on there. And then I'm going to go in and just do a little bit of eye work here. To the top and on the bottom, but I'm going to try to leave a little bit of white if I can. But like I said, if you lose it when you're doing it, don't fret. You can always add it in with a little bit of white. Okay, so there's my littlest tiniest eye. So I still was able to leave that little highlight And you can see how it adds just a little bit by leaving a little bit of that white paper showing around his eye, how that makes a difference by having that. So it really does make a difference if you can leave a little bit of white in your pictures. All right, I'm going to bump up to a 10, and I'm going to go ahead and do the background of my picture. So I wanted to do, I'm going to come in and, whoops, before my paper's too wet. I'm going to do more emphasis on his whiskers just with my pencil tonight. I'm going to come in, do these here, partial ones. I'm just going to leave them in pencil and not do the dark harsh line of my my micron pen. Words are hard tonight, people. I also want to do a cheek too. So let's take a little bit of this blushy pink color here, water it down. My bunny should be fairly dry. I'm going to swish that pink around just a little bit in there. And then I'm going to give him a little pink cheek. So I'm going to come in here and just tap, tap, tap with the end of my brush. And I don't want to try to make a round or a perfectly round circle if I can. And by tapping it, and then I just pinch my brush too to get it dry a little bit. And I can come in and manipulate it just a little bit to make it irregular. And I'm lifting color at the same time. So I'm not going to end up with just a perfect little round ball. But I'm going to let that color sit there, that little blushy color. And that's going to kind of remove some of the color behind the bunny, on the bunny. So the brown will mix with that pink too. But it really does create kind of a nice cheek look. Well, let's go ahead and mix that pinkish background. So I'm going to start with some of this peach, the color that I like. And then I'm going to mix with the pink there. So let's go ahead. It's a dry background. I don't want a lot of water on there. And I'm going to come in. If I bump up to something or get close to something, I want to move kind of fairly quick because my paint hasn't had a lot of time to dry. Watercolor is not permanent at all, especially at this stage. It isn't permanent. Now I'm pushing and pulling, turning my brush back in different directions. Go ahead and leave some white spots in your background so they're not all colored in. So now my background is wet. I'm going to pick up that really blushy pink color that I just used on his cheeks. I'm going to do a little bit more of that. And I'm going to come in and add just a tiny bit of that pink color. And because my background is wet already with that color, it's going to want to mix together, that wet on wet blend, and that's what looks so pretty with watercolor. And I don't want to over blend it to end up just looking like it's only one color. So I want to make sure I have a variation in my color backgrounds. The color looks so different on the camera tonight than it does when I'm looking at it. Now when I got a little spot here, I touched the side of my painting. If that happens to you and you get some oopsies over there, wash your brush out with clean water, come in and then kind of tickle that color a little bit and see if you can't get it to move a little bit. Okay, so now's the time you can take a look. Do you need to add a few more greens, a few more purples? You can tweak your picture and take a look at what you might like. But I think I'm happy with him. I think I'm happy with him. Not happy with how his whiskers necessarily look. Like they're, if I got too much pencil on there, not enough, and then too much. Not enough and too much. Let's see if I can't erase just a tiny bit, if I can't light it. I'll find a pencil with an eraser on it. Since I'm fighting the erasers tonight, I'm going to come in here with just the tiny bit of eraser and see if I can't remove a little bit of my pencil mark. Just the tiniest bit. Learn from me. If it doesn't work, then don't do that. My paper's pretty wet. I probably should have waited. But I think he's pretty cute. And if you decide you want to add more leaves or more color, you can scoot in some green still yet. You can come in and add some greens. If you wanted to add other leaves on, you need to let your background to dry. If you really want them to look like leaves, you got to give your background a little bit of chance to dry. But if you're just going to do some of that smushy color business in there, you can come in now and lay that in there. That's fine. And it would, it's okay if it blends a little bit with the pink too. But if you want to add a little bit of little smushy business in there, you can. Give it a little bit more contrast. And there, he's done. Now this would look great with a sentiment on it, like a happy Easter across the top if you wanted to put something in there like that. Any kind of other sentiment or words that you would want to put on there, it would look great. So there are my two bunnies. These ones are a little bit more purple. These ones got more pinks in them, but I think they're still both really cute and make fun little drawings and fun little drawings to have out and enjoy this time of the year. Nice little spring drawings. They're fun to do. And that will be it for tonight for my draw alongs. And I will be back again on Thursday. Oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time talking tonight. Sorry, friends. I will be back on Thursday with another draw along, and we are going to be working on, and maybe I do have my picture here really quick. We're going to be working on sweet peas. So we're going to be doing this one on Thursday. So another fun flower to do, and that's the birthday flower for the month of April. So we'll get it drawn, and you'll have it for if you have April birthdays that you would like to give a card for. Thanks a lot, Judy. Thanks for coming on. I'm so glad everyone joined in this evening. Those who might watch the replay, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, I sure would like to have new people come along. And again, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, that's greatly appreciated. The rest who've been watching tonight, you have a good night, and thanks for hanging out with me and drawing this fun little bunny picture. And hopefully you'll come back again on Thursday. All right now, bye now.